Trump feels he's on a roll. After his Gaza ceasefire, he pushed his way to that, and he's come back now to the issue of Ukraine. He's always wanted to get a deal between Russia and Ukraine. It's always evaded him, and I think he's decided it's time to have another go. And because Putin is so unwilling to come to the table, Trump needed some leverage on him. And talking about the Tomahawk missiles had the desired effect. It got Putin onto the phone. Putin agreed to another summit in Budapest in 2 weeks' time and dangled some trade deals in front of Trump. So, in a sense, Trump achieved what he wanted. This was about tactical leverage and getting a negotiation underway. I don't think he's got any real intention of supplying Tomahawks anytime soon. He wants a deal. And of course, Zelenskyy, therefore, was left unhappy and dissatisfied with that. But that's what Trump is always about, a negotiation and a deal making. And that's where we are, I think.
Would you enlighten the uninitiated and just explain the significance of the Tomahawk? Why is it different from all other missiles?
Yeah, it's a much more offensive, aggressive weapon because it's got a much longer range. The weapons that they've had so far have been basically defence weapons, air defence weapons, or some rather short-range missiles that can attack basically other targets in parts of occupied Ukraine. The Tomahawk goes 10 times further, and therefore it can attack targets deep in Russia, beyond Moscow into the kind of hinterland. And therefore, for the Russians, it's a very threatening weapon. And for the Americans to supply it, it would definitely be seen as an escalation by the Russians. So it's been an important sort of lever, but actually doing it, I suspect Trump would be quite wary for those reasons.
In the unedifying meeting at the White House between Trump and President Zelenskyy, the one where he was accused of not wearing a suit, he was told he had no cards to play, wasn't he? You have no cards. Does he have any cards?
Well, I think we've come quite a long way from that because the meeting yesterday in the White House was much more relaxed and positive than that awful meeting 8-9 months ago. And I think Trump's come to see that Zelenskyy has got a case. He's got brave fighters fighting for their freedom. And Putin has really annoyed Trump, I think, by constantly promising and then failing to get to the negotiating table. So in a way, Trump, I think, is looking at it in a more balanced way than he did. And if you like, I think he thinks that Ukraine has got some cards. He doesn't want to pay for the defense of Ukraine. And one of the things that has happened recently is that he's agreed to supply arms, provided we, the Europeans, pay for the arms that then get delivered to Ukraine. And on that basis, he's happy with defensive weapons. But I think the issue about the Tomahawk is going to be a longer run one. Maybe if Putin continues to disappoint him, that Trump will get to that, perhaps some small numbers of them. I think actually what's going to happen is they're going to go to Budapest, another sort of love fest. Trump will come away positive. Putin will be vaguely positive, but nothing will happen. And I fear this war is going to just drag on.
And just explain why Putin would like it that way. Why doesn't he join everybody else in thinking, OK, it's been very expensive, it's been terribly wasteful in terms of the loss of human life, it's been going on for a long time, it's unpopular with really everybody, and even quite a few Russians who have somehow managed to get off message and realise that the whole thing is something that they're deeply ashamed of and horrified by. So what is Putin doing and why, would you say, if you have insight into this man's impregnable personality?
Who knows, really? I mean, I think he's on a legacy issue. He sees conquering Ukraine as cementing his legacy, as the most important Russian since, I don't know, Peter the Great. And he thinks he's still winning. He thinks that kilometre by kilometre they're grinding forward, even if thousands and thousands of Russians are being killed every month. So he's not prepared to kind of settle for what is on offer now, because I think he'd be seen at home as having basically failed to get his target. And if you fail like that as a Russian leader, that could be career ending in a pretty dramatic way. So I think he's in this sort of bind now where he's just got to keep going to the hope that he can get something that looks like a victory. And our job in the West, in Europe, is to try and ensure that he can't do that. And by giving more weapons, by keeping up the support, finally convincing him and those around him he can't win. And he's in a dead end. is he's not in that frame of mind yet.
And it's extraordinary that you are telling me this, Lord Ricketts, on the radio. You know it. Other experts in this country have told me very similar things. We often speak to, extremely senior military personnel who will say something very, very similar. So why doesn't Vladimir Putin either know it, acknowledge it, or realise it if you do and they do?
I mean, he's in a completely different ideological mindset. He's fixated on Ukraine, and he's got it into his head that the West is a threat. I think he's not getting honest advice from his people. That's the problem with a dictator. He's been there 20 years. It's not good news it's not good for your health to bring bad news to Putin. So I think he's getting rubbish advice. He's being flattered all the time. And therefore, he's getting a misleading idea that actually the West is weak. We are split. Trump is in the end never going to do anything against Russia, and he can keep playing for time. And I think what he's doing now with this summit in Budapest is exactly that, playing for time, playing Trump, preventing the Americans giving serious support to Ukraine and big pressure on Russia, because he thinks that ideologically he can win this, and nobody around him is telling him the truth.